You know, there's a plethora of different ideas. Some you will like, some you won't like, but that's the whole reason why we have so many different ones to show you.
That was a big word.
Yeah. What, the word plethora?
Plethora. Yeah.
Hey, I got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been putting them on me all week.
Yeah, and when you pick on me now and then, you leave me with a feeling of chagrin.
Oh my goodness. That's a 75-cent one right there.
I almost said, hey everybody, Bill and Deb.
I'm not going to be Deb.
She's much, much better looking.
I guarantee you she is. Without a doubt. I don't know though, my legs are looking pretty good.
Oh, well, I tried to move the camera around where they didn't show so much, but I think we're just barely getting those knobby knees.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Well, this is Bill with I Ride Tiny House Adventures, and this is my buddy Ed with
Cargo to Cozy conversion.
Yeah. And what y'all think about this backdrop that we have here?
Man, it don't get any better than this.
Pretty cool.
Sure.
Pretty cool. And what's neat about this river behind us is, every once in a while a barge goes by.
Yeah.
And every once in a while a yacht goes by.
Speaking of,
there's one coming. Coming. And you guys will probably get to see it here in a little bit. Oh, yeah. A little bit of it. But we're here enjoying ourselves at this campground along with a bunch of other really, really good friends. And just having a blast right now. Ed is smoking some ribs as we speak.
Yeah, about to do
which
the
is
second
going
round.
to be which is going to be tonight's dinner. Is that yacht coming in behind us or whatever it is, big boat?
I bet they can see it by now.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I can hear it.
What'll really be cool is if a barge goes by while we're here.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
we've had 2 park up here since we've been here.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We're going to be here for a few more days, and what?
They're hooting and hollering.
Are they hooting and hollering
hooting and
back
hollering
there?
back there.
Interesting.
Should we
Anyway.
wave at them?
Yeah. Wave at them backwards like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, those are
oh,
dogs.
that's dogs. I
Yeah.
thought that was people.
Oh yeah. Cool. Cool. They're headed
Oh,
upriver, so they're headed back north, I guess, for the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is
Anyway.
part of the Great Loop.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to give it away here in a minute. if
No,
you're
no,
careful.
not telling where I'm at.
All right.
Just Great Loop
Okay.
is huge.
Anyway, Ed's going to help me out. I thought we would shoot a video and put it in our tips and suggestions playlist. And of course, you can also watch it over on Ed's channel, which is,
Cargo, the number 2, Cozy conversion.
yeah. So there'll be 2 different opportunities to watch this video. But now and then, of course, in our other playlist, which is all the walkthrough videos that we have, which by the way now we have more than on our channel, I Ride Tiny House Adventures. I think we busted the 100 video mark.
I was just about to ask you if you hit 100 yet.
Yeah, in the playlist. If we haven't, we're right there.
Yeah.
So we've got a large playlist of walkthrough videos, which is wonderful for people that are looking for different ideas. If you're in the middle of doing a cargo trailer conversion build, you know, there's a plethora of different ideas. Some you will like, some you won't like, but that's the whole reason why we have so many different ones to show you.
That was a big word.
Yeah. What, the word plethora?
Plethora. Yeah.
Hey, I got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been putting them on me all week.
Yeah, and when you pick on me now and then, you leave me with a feeling of chagrin.
Oh my goodness. That's a 75-cent one right there.
But anyway, this will go in the tips and suggestions video, and I'm probably going to open up a can of worms with this one.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But we got a question here a while back, and now and then we'll do this from time to time. But this particular question was a comment on way back when we were in the initial stages of building our particular cargo trailer conversion, the one that we're in now, which is the 8.5 by 20. And this question came during the series that we did on insulating the trailer. And like I said, most likely we're going to open up a can of worms here.
Yeah, but we're going to explain why.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. But anyway, here was the question. The question was, do these builds need a vapor barrier after insulation? Should we give them the short answer first, our opinion, or should we do a little bit of explaining first and then?
How about I give the short answer and then you explain some?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the short answer is don't do it before or after, because it is unnecessary and actually probably detrimental to your build if you do.
Yeah. In our opinion, if you want to try to create rain inside your trailer, there's an awful good chance that you'll have a much better chance of doing it if you use a vapor barrier. Now we're going to explain why we feel this way. And I'll give my experience first, if that's okay, Ed.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, it is my camera.
It is your camera, and this is
and my wireless mic.
That's right, exactly, because somebody left theirs at home.
Yeah, and you know, don't you have a YouTube channel?
Yes.
Which means if you're aren't you what you would call a YouTuber?
Okay.
And what should a YouTuber do when they're traveling, especially when their subject matter is about traveling and camping?
Probably should bring their equipment with them.
Okay, now let's get into this a little bit. Years ago, Deb and I had an insulation business. Yeah, we did. And of course, at the time, we were blowing insulation in attics, and we also, insulated walls with batt insulation in new construction. And the city that we were doing most of our work in had a building code that required a vapor barrier, if you will, all around the inside of the outside walls before the sheetrock went up. So we would go in there first and do the batt insulation in the walls, of course, and then we would come back with visqueen, clear plastic visqueen, and we would staple it up to the studs before the sheetrockers came in. And this was a requirement by this particular city where we were doing most of our work. Well, then a few years later, some of the homeowners started discovering black mold bleeding through the sheetrock. And when they went in there and started tearing the sheetrock out, they found that the walls were wet inside there. And then, in addition to that, if it happened to be in the wintertime, they actually found ice forming between the batt insulation and the visqueen.
And it can actually push the sheetrock off the wall.
Yeah. So anyway, then of course, when they figured out, hey, this isn't going to work, then they went with a product that a lot are familiar with now that goes on the outside before they brick it or however they're going to do the exterior. But they wrap it in Tyvek, but they don't do the visqueen. Most cities do not have the building code where they do the visqueen on the inside as a vapor barrier, because if anything, it created its own kind of vapor.
Right.
Yeah.
And wrapping the outside of the house, that's because it's a house. There's a whole different animal between these boxes we're building and a house. A house actually breathes. These boxes do not.
Yeah. And that's the next point is we both feel, and we've talked about this before, because, you know, Ed built a beautiful cargo trailer conversion. We have their walkthrough video in that playlist that we have of over 100 different walkthrough videos. And of course, Deb and I are on our second build, and then all the others. But we firmly believe that they need to be allowed to breathe to a certain point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially like in mine, and anybody else that builds one that's using propane.
Yes.
Propane naturally is going to put off moisture.
Right.
Now I have a on-demand water heater, but mine is vented out through the roof. So I don't really have a problem with it. But that's the only thing I use for propane. But I've heard, yeah, for heat. But I've heard people that have done like you're talking about, and they went in and vapor barriered everything and closed everything up really tight, and then they try to heat with the propane, and they can't understand why it's raining in
Yeah.
their trailers.
Yeah.
And
But-
everything rusting, screws start rusting, and
Mm-hmm.
but that's the problems. They're not breathing any. You have to have them breathe a little bit.
Right. Of course, what both Ed and I both use for heat in our cargo trailer conversions are mini splits.
Yeah.
Which, you
Great.
know, they're a heat pump. And we have stayed warm clear down into the mid-teens with ours.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all have got that cold yet on the
I've never
outside
done it
of
that
yours.
cold. We got down to 20s, but isn't it funny that the manufacturers will tell you that they won't do it, but they will. Now
Oh,
they,
yeah.
they have to
Yeah.
defrost a lot, but they
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they'll go into. You'll see a on the indicator light. You'll see this code pop up that's
Yeah,
DF, and
that's
that
right.
means defrost mode.
Yep.
And you'll hear the compressor do something different during that time. I don't know what it's doing.
We went out one morning. Ours was defrosting like that,
Mm-hmm.
and we went out the next morning, and we had icicles hanging off the rack that it was on because it was defrosting. It was water, and it was
Yeah.
refreezing into icicles.
Right.
So that's how cold you can get with
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah. But the only spots where we have condensation in our trailer is a little bit around the windows, and of course that's partially because, probably mostly because, we're not using a double pane house type window. Of course,
right.
we're using typical RV style windows, which are just a single pane window.
Yep.
And we will have a little bit of condensation form on the windows, but that is about it.
Yep.
No condensation anywhere else. So, but anyway, that's our opinion about that. While we're on the subject, let's talk about those that think that they need to have an air gap. Let's talk
Yeah.
about those that think that they need to use a product like Reflectix or something like that, and what that kind of stuff, in our opinion, is really designed for. And but when you talk about an air gap, like when, let's say in a house, and we were just discussing this just a little bit ago, if you read the instructions on some of this Reflectix type material, and Reflectix is not the only brand out there are others
Right.
out there, and what they really recommend this for in a typical house is to staple the product to the underside of your rafters that go up to the peak of the roof in a house. And the whole idea behind that is the peak needs to be vented or go out through the gable ends vented. But the whole idea behind that is you'll have a vent in your soffits, which is the eaves that extend around the roof, you know, in your house. And of course, what that does is the heat that builds up from the sun beating down on your roof, that Reflectix type material will hold that heat in there, but by convection, it will actually travel up the cavity and then go out through the vents at the top of the roof.
That's right.
You know, and
Keeps
that-
it out of your attic.
Right, which keeps it out of your attic, which of course will have its own insulation on the attic floor, you know. But the whole idea is to help that attic stay cooler in general, so it'll make it much easier to keep the house cool in the summertime.
Right. And it works well, like if you want to put it up in your window, like in our case, in the summertime, I'll put some in our single pane window.
Yeah, yeah.
It actually reflects the heat back out. So it
Yeah.
does work good for that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it does not work good in the walls. That's not
Yeah.
what it was intended for.
Yeah, the thing about it is, now someone's going to disagree with us on that, and that's
I'm
okay.
sure. That's our opinion.
Some will disagree. We don't have that. Now Ed has one 1-inch layer of foam board in his trailer.
Right.
Is that right?
That's right.
And of course, we went with a 1-inch layer between the metal studs, and then we ran furring strips horizontally, you know, spaced roughly about that far apart, give or take a little, depending on where cabinets were going to land and upper shelves and things like that, because we also used them as nailers, if you will, you know, to run screws into to mount our upper shelves and stuff like that. And then we laid up another layer of 3/4-inch foam board in between those horizontal furring strips. So we have a total of 1 3/4 inches of foam.
I wish I
And-
had done that.
Well, hindsight's always better.
It is always better.
yeah.
Yeah.
But here again, we have no condensation issues. We have no trouble staying warm in cold temperatures, and we have been clear down into the teens with our trailer. and we don't have a vapor barrier, we don't have an air gap. So back on the subject of the air gap thing, the air gap, truly to make this air gap work right, if you were going to have an air gap in your walls, you would need a way to vent that buildup of warm air in the summertime where it could follow the cavity up and out through the top of the roof in the cargo trailer. That, of course, would mean that you'd have to go through extra, if you were really going to use this product the way it's designed to be used,
Yeah.
in our opinion, and we know there's going to be different opinions out there, and that is okay. You do it your way, we'll do it our way, but this is what we're saying as far as we're concerned. If you really want to make that stuff work right for how it's intended to be used, that air gap needs to have some place where that heat buildup in that air gap can escape up and out.
Yeah, if you don't, where's all that heat going?
Yeah, and how are you going to do that in a cargo trailer conversion?
Right.
You know, from the inside of the wall, getting it up into a cavity into the ceiling, and then going out through the top.
Yep, that's my opinion too.
Yeah. So now, if you disagree, you say so.
Oh, I have the option to disagree with you.
You Sure.
Oh man, for the people that don't watch us very often, they have no idea how much shenanigans we carry on, do they?
We are always clowning around.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Our wives may have a different word for that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And we can't repeat those words
No.
on YouTube. But anyway, that's just our thoughts. We know that there's going to be some difference of opinions out there. Yeah. But all we know is, in our case, Deb and I's case, we have 4 years full-timing in our current trailer, and we haven't had any issues with condensation. We haven't had any issues with keeping warm with our mini split. We haven't experienced any of those issues. So we're also basing this on the experience of actually living. Remember, our cargo trailer conversion is our home. We live in it full time. So this is from our experience of living in the current trailer we have for 4 years now.
Yep, I think that almost makes you an authority on it, doesn't it?
I'm not going to go there.
Why? Because you know somebody's going to comment on it.
Well, I'm not going there, and you heard me say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you from our experience, both back when we had our installation business and what happened then. And I remember, you know, later on when I'd walk into a new house, and if someone had left a piece of visqueen laying on the concrete in a new house while it was being under construction, all the other concrete would be dry throughout the rest of the house. But what would it be underneath that piece of visqueen?
Oh, it's going to sweat.
Yep.
Because concrete sweats.
Exactly. So if that's any indication of what you could be doing by hanging a vapor barrier during your build and insulating it, there you go.
Well, there's a reason why even commercially built RVs do not do that. Mm-hmm. And most of them use batting.
They do.
So,
which I have an issue with that.
I do too, but that's the RV industry standard, and it works. To me, you're asking for something to absorb moisture. And
well, let's talk about the batting issue for a little bit. Let's just talk about the R rating for batting. Let's say you get, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy R13 bats, like you would buy for a house that's supposed to be installed in a 2x4 wall. And yeah, you can compress that R13 bat down where you can make it compress down to that 1 inch. Then you can say, well, I got R13 in my walls. Well, when you compress it down to 1 inch, you have lost. It ain't an R13 no more. The way that it's going to be an R13 is when it is, you know, fully expanded.
3.5 inches.
Yeah. So when you compress it down to 1 inch, if it's a Rockwool bat, it's whatever Rockwool is rated at 1 inch thick, which I think is around 2.5. I think it's been a while.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
No, it's more like
it goes way down.
Yeah, it might be 3 in 1 per inch, but that's what you go. That's what happens when you do that. I'm not doing the math in my head, and don't hold me to that, but just look it up. You can look up R rating per inch on rock wool. You can look up R rating per inch on fiberglass, insulation, cellulose, foam.
I didn't study for the test.
Well, you don't have to.
Okay.
But anyway, that's that. That's our opinion on that. And like I say, Deb and I have 4 years of living in this one full time, every single day, every night. And this is what we're actually speaking from experience when it comes
Absolutely.
to that.
And that's just
Anything
our
else?
opinion.
And that's, yeah, everybody's got one or two.
They can do it their way, but
Yeah, and that's
it
fine.
It's worked good for me so
That's
far.
fine.
And apparently it's worked good for you.
But
so.
that's our opinion when it comes to using a vapor barrier in a cargo trailer conversion.
That's right. I was really hoping a tug would come by while we were
I
here.
was too. I was hoping a tug would come by pushing a big old barge about 300 feet long.
I got some
We
really
had
good.
'em.
I got some really good pictures of the tug that was sitting here the other day.
Yeah.
They took a picture of your trailer over here.
Yeah.
And posted it on your page.
Yes, they did.
That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. They did.
And then you guys actually talked to each other as they were
Yeah.
leaving. So
Yeah. We messaged each other back and forth on Facebook.
You just
Yeah.
never know when you're gonna meet somebody.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
They had to park here and spend the night, overnight one night, simply because they had to wait for the river to go down. It was actually in flood stage.
Yeah.
Had to wait for the river to go down so they'd be able to get underneath some high wires on beyond the next lock and dam, which
Hey, you
is
should post it.
down
you should
there.
post a picture of that.
I will
That would be cool.
after we leave here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't be giving it up yet. We're still here for a while.
I will post that
That was really
after
cool.
we're gone.
I think,
Anyway.
I think that's the coolest thing I've seen so far. Who would have thought?
We are really enjoying ourselves here. We've got how many couples that are friends of ours here right now? Altogether, about eight
there's 8.
couples, 7 or 8 couples.
I think was there 19 of us went
Yeah.
to eat last night together.
Yeah. And so yeah, and then of course we're having ribs tonight, and tomorrow night's Italian night.
Well, I hope they turn out good.
Well, I hope so. Well, you're doing them. I haven't had a bad rib out of your smoker yet.
Well, you know how Kathy is. Oh, I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Hers is always good.
Well, we're rambling on now. We need to say goodbye.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, folks, I hope we didn't make anybody mad. That definitely was not our intention at all. This is simply our opinion. I'll repeat that one more time. If you disagree with that, that is just fine. But we are basing our opinion on experience for the last 4 years, especially in mine and Deb's case with our trailer.
Hey,
All
look,
right.
if they disagree, they can say so on your channel.
Yes,
if
sir.
they agree, you can come over to my channel and agree.
But be nice about it.
That'd be nice about it.
Don't be a rear end. This is not about telling everybody else how stupid they are.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for
We'll
watching.
see you guys.
See you later.
This is Bill with I Ride Tiny House Adventures. This is Ed.
With Cargo 2 Cozy Conversion.
And-
Remember, it's the number 2.
Yeah. Now, can we go ahead and use our tagline? Are you okay with that?
I can do it. I
Okay.
studied for this test.
Well, you guys know exactly what we're going to say. In fact, we've been using this tagline for at least 4 years or more now. We are not camping.
We are living.
Y'all get out there and do some living. And we'll see you again soon.
See ya.
Maybe even Ed again.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.